Okay, good morning, everybody. My name is Grant Combrink. I'm the Marketing and Segment Development Manager. We're going to continue our outlook and manufacturing and processing control solutions webinar theme that we've been having for the past few months. It's really important that we give you some information of actually just a reminder of how to control your lighting assets. We're in an environment where we want to try and, we all know the buzzword, save as much as possible, but I think it's important that we get the most benefit out of the solution, and your solutions provider gives you these options. It's really important that we take your asset to the next level. It's not just about the hardware now, it's about what you can do with it. Many years now we've been talking about how to control it, and I think what's important now is that we really give you the opportunity for it to be controlled by yourself. And today we'll do a bit of a recap on what was previously discussed, and plus just take a little bit further to show you how you can save more. Okay, so I introduced myself, and included in today will be Peter Fenter, our segment manager in the manufacturing and processing light industry segment, and Dani van der Nest, our project manager and systems engineer. So we will shoot through a whole bunch of information. What's important today is, first of all, that this session will be recorded. We will also have towards the end a Q&A, so you're more than welcome to put in the chat box some questions. We will answer it afterwards, so we'd like to go through it, but just so you don't forget, please pop the question in the chat box in the meantime, and we'll address it all at the end. And then if you can stay online to the end, there's going to be some extra info that we'll share with you, because your feedback is important. Okay, let's get into it. So as we said, the introductions we've done, we're just going to have a bit of a recap on what we previously spoke about. I'm going to talk about some protocols again, specifically to this control system. Then we're going to get into the Schréder Artera itself, some of our service solutions, and then we're going to have a wrap up. So just a reminder of who we are. Very proud of this. We are 45 years old, let's say, this year. We've been producing manufacturing LEDs for over 10 years. You know us well, and we cover most of sub-Sahara Africa, and it's something that we're really proud of, and how this business has evolved and grown. And the humble beginnings in 1978 in Namibia, and all the way through now to a solely owned company and part of the Schréder Group. Again, something that we really drive on our values has been a local company. We have over 200 people employed from white collar and blue collar, and our BE rating, as you know, is level 3. So just to, I know we always harp on this, and we always speak about what we are and the values that we hold close to us as a business, but it's something that you need to ask yourselves as the customer and as the consumer. What product am I getting? Where is it coming from? What is being sourced? How is it designed? And that's something that we pride ourselves in. You know, from the ISO accredited factory, the certified product, the energy saving again, but it's as a whole. You know, you're dealing with a product that has got a mechanical, an optical, an electrical component, and all of that is giving you some sort of saving. So really, when we talk about this in introduction, it's how does this all come together? And the big thing is that we have an in-house R&D department. So we've got a group of engineers that sit and try and provide you with the best value possible in an asset, in a luminaire, to illuminate your area. So really, just don't just look at this as a general introduction. Just take to step back and think, what am I getting from our supplier? Where is all this coming from? What are they giving us with regards to added value? And I think that's something really that you need to really think about. We've got a wide range of products, as you know, and we will give you some marketing collateral links at the end. You all know as well, and the product that we provide across many applications, as you can see below, and it's important for us to give you the best asset for your application and to make sure that you're getting the correct asset and the correct output on that specific application, which is very important. Just a quick note from Daniel Kasper, GM. And I think what's important and what stands out is always yourselves, the customer, and that is something that we really want to drive through. Okay, let's get into the good stuff. We always want to make your application a bit smarter, and how to control your assets. So just a quick recap. The benefits again. So when I go through this, don't just look at it as words that are coming through. Really think about and ask the question and challenge us to say, how can I save optimally in my application? So it's not just energy saving, and what percentage. It's like, how can I optimize my energy saving for my needs? Because you don't want to, okay, we're saving 50% when we upgrading from conventional to LED. But now I want to drive this through because we all know the issues that we do have. So what benefits am I getting out of this asset? So challenge your the salesperson or the person that's consulting you to get the most out of this, and again, this is your asset. This is something that you've purchased, and I want to manage this asset because it's actually giving us so many benefits, and it's something that we've actually been discussing quite a few times with a lot of salespeople over the past few weeks, is like, this is actually giving us so much light, and we didn't think it would illuminate this area as much as it is. But if there's no light, any light is a lot of light. And if you think of all the benefits that it can create, that asset now you want to manage, because there's so many just general benefits to having light, which is important. And now we're giving you an opportunity to how to adapt this light to your application, and this is something we can localize for yourselves and give you the control that you want with your asset. And then the flexibility. So it's important that, and we all heard the buzzword about future-proof, and we use it, but this is something that we can give to you with an expandable product, and expandable, and it's keeps on. I mean, I was hearing things this morning about what else we can do now with this control system. So really drive these benefits home, because this is the benefits that you want for your application. Okay, so just as a reminder and a recap again, the basic, let's call it basic energy savings that you do have with the general on-off. If we've converted to LED, you're going to get the technology and energy saving from that specifically. And then we've got a autonomous isolated solution. So what you mean by that is you've got a localized based sensor, whether that be PRR presence, whether that be daylight harvesting, something that is localized within the luminaire itself, to give you the added benefit on top of the savings that you're getting from your LED. And then obviously we're going to be talking about the Schréder Altera again. This is something that gives you the localized and adaptability and control in your hand, where we group these luminaires via a Bluetooth protocol to take your savings, to take your application to the next level. Okay, let's go into some protocols. This is specifically for the use of the Schréder Altera control solution and DALI. A lot of you know DALI. A lot of you have had DALI installations, and this is something now that that we use with the Schréder Altera platform and protocol to take it to the next level. We all know it as a wide digital signal, bi-directional communication, so you're receiving feedback also from the driver. There is commissioning required and addressing of the driver. It's a very stable communication, slow in inverted commas compared to some other protocols like DMX, etc. We all know it as a digital addressable lighting interface. It is quite a common protocol that is used now, and it's a protocol to communicate between controller and luminaire. It's a standard, it's an open standard across the industry, and compatible with different control gear, ballasts, and different lighting manufacturers. So it really gives you flexibility. And with the commissioning side, you have to individually address the specific driver for the DALI network, and it's slightly less commissioning if you had to look at the likes of DMX, etc. Just a bit of a graphic on the side there, just to sum that all up. Just some general pros and cons. Again, international standard. It's a more cost-effective protocol that you can incorporate into your units for, as I said, a future-proof, easy installation and commissioning in general. And then obviously you get the individual feedback and communication, the two-way communication. It's mainly a lighting control, and you are limited to 64 ballast or control gear per DALI controller. Okay. Then something now where we're going to push into more detail with the Schréder Altera. Bluetooth, we all know very well. We constantly connecting it through our devices daily, hourly, and it's really a protocol that is growing really, really fast. We all know it as a wireless. It's minimal commissioning. We do know it as a digital signal, and also the speed of the signals depending on line of sight, effectively, as we all know. One important thing with and how this technology and protocol has grown. There's different levels of Bluetooth and technology that have grown, and the distance that it can cover. Each node, specifically Bluetooth node that we provide with the Schréder Altera, allows you to create a mesh network. This is also including certain gateways if you need to extend that. But as you can see here, we've isolated certain mesh network specifically to where your needs are. It's a self-healing mesh network, and it will connect accordingly. We will go into more detail of that. Obviously, the nice thing is the remote access that you do have, the gateways that you can add to this to extend it. So with regards to the future-proof, and it's a product that can grow in your environment. And now the great thing is that you can extend it from an external application to an internal application, and now your whole environment of control can grow via an app. Okay, I think I'm handing over to Donnie.
Thank you, Grant. Morning, everybody. So let's just kick off with a customer scenario, just to explain a little deeper at why we aim and focus on this solution called Altera. So let's say there's a customer with a specific goal. We're talking M&P here, so he needs to. He's worried about safety in his warehouse. He needs to absolutely reduce the energy usage, and then that in all creates an increase in return investment. This person cares about his employees. He might be afraid of global warming as such, so he understands technologies and worries about what he physically has to use. He likes new technologies and want to incorporate that in his solution, and therefore be ahead of the market. So his needs, his worries, his frustrations is that his whole warehouse is lit most of the time. it increases his bill, and already had some injuries in his environment. There's pressure from his management to reduce these costs, and but also to use the full lighting capacity, you know, when it's needed during the day. So specifically in this type of scenario, we would then give the client some advice and requirements so that we fulfill the solution. In this case, we will worry about you know, what kind of control will suit the client best. So as a workable control system, something that runs in the background without any interference, without any worries, normally we would go for a control device. And in the previous days, we would worry about wiring such a solution up, which becomes costly and very difficult as an installation. But with iTerra, we can now have a wireless system, and I'll explain a little bit where the wireless control comes from. And obviously iTerra, like Grant mentioned, is a platform where we can expand and adapt the light, but also the scenario in different many ways, and therefore that gives the client the energy savings and the cost savings that he needs, but also to create a safe environment for his employees, his visitors, etc. So if we look at the benefits of iTerra, surely it's always about the money, so we can reduce the energy of the light. So light where it's needed, when it's needed, that's the principle we base it on. Limited tables, so the wireless then comes in that between the physical control devices, our nodes, they speak wirelessly to each other through the Bluetooth protocol. Therefore, the installation is less cumbersome, less cables is used. You don't have long cables to a specific numbers that I then dictate within the design. So through the usage of the system, we can then also save the lifetime of the luminaire itself, you know, because if a luminaire doesn't have to run hot and at full capacity all the time, you reduce all the usage of and the expansion of its lifetime, not only through the LED, but also the driver that runs the LEDs. Another benefit is that you will then use one node for multiple luminaires. So if we use the function of multi-DALI or broadcasting, then certainly we can then connect multiple luminaires to one device. There is limitations to how many devices can be run, and that's all in our data sheet. So if someone wants to understand that, I can explain that to you. What I normally do is I get a design from the representative. I go through the design and I then run the numbers according to area, to space. When we look at MNP, we certainly look at shelving. We look at very specific control areas where machinery is you know, loading bays, areas where people work, production lines, etc. So all of these things are understood during the design phase. Not only the physicals, so the software then comes into play. What happens here is we obviously have a very dedicated application on a smart device, and this creates a new experience for a lot of users. And I mean, it's very difficult to understand nowadays that everything is run off applications, but it's certainly the case, and it's a mindset that we have to also change within the industry, because it seems a little mediocre that you would run a large area, a manufacturing area, or a large facility just off your cell phone. But to be honest, we do so every day. We do it with our houses. We're running our backup systems. Everything comes through an application to a device. And so iTerra is based on that. iTerra is an app free to be downloaded from all the applicable stores on Android and Apple. And therefore, once the application is on your smart device, you have a capability to log in on the first screen there, and then you are able to see your physical luminaires, your nodes, and everything connected to it. There's a visual screen of which we can create for you, so a layout of your area and where all of these nodes are applied in the design. And then there is the scenes screen. So on the scene screen, that is where I program specific requirements for you. So it is specific light levels, specific area groupings of luminaires, etc., that would run in a very autonomous way. And then we have also in the background just the more screen, which gives you a lot of options with regards to, Grant, if you just can go one back, with regards to sensors, timers, switches, the gateway, and also your network setup. Those things are normally locked and only available for administrative purposes. So, but you as the end user does have the option to take responsibility of your own application and have all of those areas open. Thanks, Grant. Next. So just a little deeper, we'll run through these screens, but it is applicable to different control. So in the main screen, the luminaire screen, you can individually or manually control each luminaire, each node, or a grouping of such that is connected to that node. Here you can only switch on and dim luminaires in the screen. Like I explained, the gallery tab, we take a photo from above, we can take a drawing, we can take a snapshot of anything that you offer us where it makes sense and a logical layout of the area. And with that, we can plot these different nodes or these different luminaires at a point where you can actually control it off a visual part, a screen that's the layout of the site. Like I said, on the scenes, pre-selected buttons with a little visual on it, a little icon with a description. So a very logical and open way of controlling a grouping of luminaires with a specific dimming scenario, but also some time-based scenes, things that gets triggered by timing or by sensor triggering. All of these scenes are created in this part of the application. So let's look at a few specific applications. This is certainly focused on the industry and large areas, but we've implemented this iTerra solution on several sporting and outdoor, indoor applications already. Very successful, very likable by the end users, using an app off a smart device to control a very large sports field, for instance, or an indoor area. So when we focus on industry, we can then start looking at building management. So, incorporating outdoor, indoor to the leverage of control as such. So Yeah, it's like I said, you're looking at a very large area, and because of the capabilities of the nodes, we are able to have these speak over vast distances to each other. So applicable to your design, and having the capability of these nodes creating a proper mesh and therefore able to control all your luminaires for the savings that is required. So when we delve into, next slide please, Grant, using every and almost any of our luminaires, what is required physically luminaire to be recepted with such a node is just a socket. As we know, the standards of NEMA and Zaga. So we have those type of nodes which can be incorporated in almost every LED luminaire that we provide to you. So let's get to a bit of the hardware, Grant. If we talk hardware, we're not just talking about our node, we are talking about things that we can use, and nowadays sensors, triggers, external devices that can be connected to the intelligence, to the controller itself, has become a huge offering industry. So we can now intelligently use other hardware devices to communicate also on Bluetooth level or by physical integration to the node, and use its capabilities to trigger what we require for the light output. Here we're looking at a scenario of a large area, so manufacturing area, buildings, manufacturing plants, offices, outdoor parameter fencing. We've done a very prestigious installation of parameter fencing, so we're not just looking at the functionality but also the safety of your environment. And with these nodes, we were able to trigger a camera input, so when detection takes place on your parameter fence, your lights are dimmed most of the time, but when there's a breach and contact on that camera, it lights up that area vastly, and that becomes a detersion and also an alarm to the security system. So very cleverly used there. There on the left are some of the devices that we're using. So the nodes, you can see the top version is on the top left is our NEMA. The second one is our our external IP box, where we host these. If it's not specifically on the luminaire, we can connect several luminaires into this box with one node. And then the second one is the third one is the Zaga version. And below that is the little white box, which is our module node for internal use. We have switches that can be used physically against the wall, so that is also still capable or available if the app isn't something that the user wants to use. And then several sensors and switches there with the gateway as the last one. Next slide. Yeah, just a little bit more about the sensors. So like I said, we have in our portfolio several. I'm just showing you two here, and very usable in many applications, and some of you might have used the same. But what's unique about these new sensors is that it already comes with the Bluetooth chip incorporated. And again, this Kasimbi chip that is used in several manufacturing devices nowadays is what we can then use to incorporate directly into the iTerra app and use its full functionality of DALI sensoring on the DALI bus, and use its input as a trigger. So its corridor functions, its PIR functions, its lux levels, so all of those physical inputs can be used to trigger your luminaires then in a specific scene, whether it has to do with occupancy, whether it has to do with timing, whether it's used with different lux levels in your manufacturing environment. The next one, so this one is for just for large areas, offices, etc. And then we have another version which is for high level ceilings, you know, so going up to a 16-meter detection. A very usable sensor this, and again something that can be directly incorporated into the Altera app, so no need for a connection between a controller and the device itself. It is fully functional by itself on the Dali bus.
Okay.
So just the last mention to you, we're looking at this as a autonomous system, something that can be controlled, programmed and commissioned by itself. I just need to mention that obviously there will be questions of building management system, something of how do we incorporate this standalone system now into something that we can visually see in our building management system, etc. So we are already focused on that. We currently don't have the physical solution, but what I can tell you is we have one successful test environment already implemented in Europe, where we've incorporated these nodes, talking to one of our more intelligent nodes, which is our Schréder platform. And some of you in this call might already have heard of Schréder and how that is your city management system, which is capable of alarms, alerts, asset management, etc. So we are looking at incorporating Altera nodes into the same environment. So we have one platform to offer you where you then can incorporate with APIs, etc., into any other system, as Schréder as an open environment, and therefore, you know, include the autonomous usage of the luminaires and controls into a system that you can then have visual control over remotely. Thank you. So with that, I'll hand over to Peter for a bit more in-depth about design. And
yeah, Donnie, before we go there, I just want to, I'm just thinking out loud. So if I'm a customer and I've got a logistics warehouse with multiple high racking application, and now I'm quite a technically advanced type of person, and this specific warehouse with this high racking, I wanted to operate differently every 2 to 3 racks, because this is a 24/7 application. So can the system offer me the flexibility that if I've got 20 racks with, and can I then adapt the system to operate in a different way with the system based on the hardware that you've shown? So every second rack, every second, you know, so for instance, the forklift will only use 2 out of the 10, for instance, and when they're coming in, and now I want to adapt this accordingly. So I want part of the logistics warehouse to act a certain way. I want sensors in the one side. I want standard on off in the other. How do you adapt that?
Yeah, absolutely. We focus on the design, like I mentioned, and I mean, we as a large company offers that design to you freely, and once I have that design from my representative in hand, knowing what the outcome or the solution for the client would be, and certainly we fine tune it at the very end during the programming to the client, so they have full input into, yes, this is what I want, this is what I don't want, this is what I would like to have, etc. But just on a very in-depth level of what you've mentioned. So let's talk about shelving and areas specific to where light is needed. Yes, we then look at these different rows. We can then plot and place specific hardware, let's call it then a sensor and a node, to talk to each other. So what we use is the sensor as a trigger. We can then say, right, in this specific area where there's occupancy, forklift, movement of feet, etc., only for that specific timing or period. We can then have the trigger tell the system what to do. The trigger will then trigger a scene, ramp up, have light there where it's needed, and then when occupancy disappears, the light level drops. So again, saving money, saving energy, saving the life of the luminaire, etc. So light used only where it is required. And with a mix of all of these hardware parts, we can control every single portion or environment. So what we do is we then plot these and we share it with the client. We talk it through as a project with the client, and we understand exactly what is his needs, what is his budget, so that we then fine tune it to the exact liking of that. So it's purely focused on and based on these inputs that we get from the client and the design.
Yeah, so the biggest takeaway here is we want to make your whole solution as smart as possible, and each luminaire in a different application can act a certain way depending on what your needs are and your energy saving goals. Time, whether your operation is 24/7 or not, it's irrelevant. If we just want to look at security from a certain time, we can schedule that accordingly. If you want your the in between the racks, the luminaires to act a certain way, the trigger itself, and I think, Donnie, that's important that you could probably expand on a bit more, is that trigger, and yeah, just by having that trigger, it gives you so much options, right?
Yeah, certainly. It's we've spoken about sensors, and our focus was here on sensors, especially with indoor and like you've mentioned, the physical usage between shelves, etc. And where people are moving around, offices, trucks. So everywhere where we can drop light, where it's not necessary to run light at a maximum all the time, is where the main focus would be. We can do so also with different things like timers. So we can use time-based scenes that a luminaire in a specific area is only on at a certain level, even at a specific time of day, whether that's day or night. So depending on where that light is required, when that light is required. We look at ablutions. So many times lights in ablutions, especially for large areas where a lot of people is used, those ablutions are big, and those are on 100% all the time. So again, looking at what budget the client would have, either use extra hardware or cleverly use timing to switch things on and off during a specific time of day. And the nice thing is this becomes a network. So the network is created for that complete environment, and we can have several areas autonomously running by themselves with these controllers. It's not that it's focused on another area or such, So all of these things run within that network environment, and because they're Bluetooth, as long as that Bluetooth network is on in that area, these nodes will run the luminaires accordingly.
Also, Donnie, so as a customer, if I've got a maintenance team or a maintenance manager specifically, if there's some issue in one of the warehouses, can he get some sort of alarm from that? And then the second part of the question would be, when he arrives at site, I don't necessarily, I still want to have a dim state, energy saving state, because this could be 2, 3 in the morning. But can there part of the system where wherever he is walking specifically or driving his car, can there be lights illuminated around him from a safety point and then leading him to the certain application?
Yeah, specifically on this picture, I've plotted a sensor at the gate, and that sensor could be of camera input, as long as it's the nodes have a specific requirement for that input to be. And so already when your gate opens up, security, everybody around, because light then starts, and it's is required for what kind of trigger, for what kind of motion, what is it that the client really wants out of this environment. If we're looking at the street, the parking area around that building, we can use again lux levels with daylight on and off. We can use sensors to trigger occupancy in that area specifically, and with that trigger we can then dim up and down, also again with time or with just pure detection. We can, yeah, Grant, I mean, it's endless. Literally very specifically focused on what the requirements of that client is, and we'll put something together. What we have here as hardware is something very specific to our portfolio, but we are capable of incorporating almost anything nowadays that speaks on the DALI or 0 to 10 volt protocol. I have to mention 0 to 10 volt because it's just we cannot broadcast, as it's not a digital input. We do not broadcast, so it becomes a one-on-one connection with a controller. But our nodes are certainly capable of also using 0 to 10 volt as a dimming state. And then the gateways then becomes the use of your network remotely. So it's a very simple device which is plugged into your local network. It has a MAC address, so all security as a simple device on your own network, like a computer would be, is in your hands. But using this is just as an internet connection. And then secondly, it becomes a Bluetooth device close to a repeater node, which then speaks to your site externally.
And then Donna, you also mentioned, so if I'm, again, this tech-savvy customer and I want certain data from that, you mentioned the link between Schréder. So yeah. Will that data now, I can use this data because that's what everybody talks about, right?
Yeah, we again, we are on it because that is absolutely what a lot of our clients would like out of the environment. Now, not shying away from Schréder itself. Schréder is a management system of assets, and therefore everything applicable to that asset can be shown on Schréder. What we're trying to do with a simplistic system, a DALI system like Itera, is incorporated into Itera, into Schréder, where Schréder gives us at least those alarms, those triggers that happens, when light changes. And yeah, we are very focused on that. Like I said, we have a successful solution on it already. It is complex to incorporate something where one encryption of a device is not talking to another encryption of a device, but in the very near future, we as a large company will certainly have these things talk to each other very, very easily. So yeah, already there, just fine-tuned, not yet. So something we are looking at really incorporating the two that we offer. One as this based interface, and then Itera as the more simpler version of it, and the two things to be useful to clients.
And I think that's where it becomes expandable, the future-proof discussion where we can take your energy-saving application and now expand on it accordingly because now your needs your energy-saving needs are getting more of a priority. You've got certain objectives as a customer, looking at sustainability, looking at energy saving, etc., etc. So it's really taking your application to the next level now, which is important, and obviously giving you the feedback that you need to report up the value chain. Okay, let's go to Peter. You let's shoot into the services solutions we can offer.
Good morning, everyone. Yes, thanks, Grant. I would like to turn your attention to our service offerings. We offer lighting audits on current installations And then based on that, we can do 3D lighting simulations. If you've got drawings available, it would make our lives a little bit easier. We can do our designs based on those drawings. If you do not have drawings, what we found nowadays, a lot of the older buildings, there's no drawings available. We will gladly measure the area. We'll mock up a plan, and then on that we can do proper 3D lighting designs. And all these designs are based on the SANS standard. So if you, for instance, if we are looking at a warehouse with shelving, like on that example, or just an open laydown area, all our designs are based on the SANS standard or to the customer's own specific standard. We also offer cost-saving calculations and obviously return on investment calculations, because that's what most people want to see nowadays, is how quickly will this investment pay off. And I can promise you, with the dimming that we can offer, the Itera system, easily within 2.5 years, you can pay off your system. And this is obviously based on a case-by-case scenario, but very easily within 2 to 2.5 years, you can pay off the system. Also, earlier, light where it's needed, when it's needed. In this design, what I've done is we've dimmed down the luminaires in the rest of the building. It's pointless to have a warehouse or a storage facility where the lights are burning 100% 24 hours. So actually, in the aisle that's lit up, the lux level there, we measure 150 lux, and the other ones where it's dimmed down, the lux level there was 120 lux. So you save a lot of energy, total darkness. If somebody walks into the building or a forklift enters the building and he enters that specific aisle, only the lights in that specific aisle will light up and the rest will remain on a dim state. So again, you save a lot of energy. And as Donnie mentioned earlier, we also do this with timers. Say, for instance, you're a bakery, and in the mornings, the bread goes out from 4 o'clock in the morning until 6 o'clock in the morning. Then the lights would ramp up to 100%, only for those 2 hours, and then the rest of the day it can dim down. So it's your building will never be compromised for security reasons. There'll also always be a little bit of light, but you can save a lot of energy, as you don't need the lights burn 100% for 24. Next one, Grant, please. Here we have a sports complex in our Itera system, and you can see we managed to create different scenes. Firstly, different lighting levels. So, for instance, for a practice level, you would want a lower lighting level than to a full match day. So we can program it to different lighting levels, and we can also create different scenes. So if you only practice on the one side of the court or the other side of the court, you don't have to have all the lights burning all the time, again, as I said previously. And then also something, just the client wanted to create a vibe when a goal is scored or when there's some excitement, and we managed to create a scene where the lights come on randomly in between the courts, and you can see it creates quite a nice vibe. And you can imagine this with having some music pumping in the background, how nice this would be, and how amazing the audience would live up to this if it's like this in your sports complex.
And I also think we can relate it to, so for instance, if this is a warehouse that is rented to a rented out facility, and this was an indoor sporting complex, and then two years down the line, it might become a logistics warehouse, for instance. So it can be adapted to the lighting, can still be adapted to that, where you can put racking in certain areas and then turn on your lights accordingly. So it really gives any developer some flexibility with regards to that.
Grant, can I also just mention the flexibility? We in the beginning you spoke about the protocol and the addressing of luminaires, etc., and drivers. So what we are focused on here is that our controller, we use broadcasting very easily because you can multiple luminaires. However, in this video clip, you can also see how sections of the lights are switched on and off, and those are sections of luminaires drivers that's connected to one node, where I'm broadcasting to a very specific grouping of luminaires. There are limitations to how many addresses we can do per node, and this is 8. So, and it has to do with the power consumption of the driver to the control system. Therefore, I'm in a design, what we can do is we can connect 8 drivers to one node, and we can individually then control those luminaires by itself. So every single one of that 8 luminaires can be controlled. So depending on how many luminaires or drivers we're looking at, we apply so many nodes, and that gives a huge flexibility, like you've mentioned in that scenario, where a warehouse can become multiple things in the future, gives the owner the capacity of literally doing anything, shape or form of those luminaires in sections and areas where required.
Thanks, Tony.
Okay, Peter.
Then, to those of you who have visited our roadshows or attended our roadshows, we've got a very realistic iTerra demo box, which we can demo in your office, in the comfort of your office boardroom, where all the different applications of the iTerra system can be showcased. There you can see from sports fields to parks to facade lighting to warehousing. You're welcome to contact us, and we can demonstrate very realistically what the system is capable of for your specific application. A wide range of data and brochures, data sheets available. Please, you're welcome to contact any of the salespeople or any of ourselves, and we can set up an appointment. We can come and address your specific need. There's a lot of material out there on our website. On all social media, you can find us as well. Then just to end off with some application pictures, very proud of the projects we've completed, and there's a lot of applications, a lot of different requirements that the customer has had, and our products are used through the industry, from school halls to warehousing to manufacturing facilities to workshops, sports, fruit terminals, all across the board. There's for every application we can offer you the required luminaire.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, let's get into the questions. So Nadia is going to help us with that. If there's any questions in the chat, and then you're welcome to raise your hand and then unmute. Just before we carry on, just excuse all the noises in the background. Please just also stay online afterwards, because we're going to have a short poll. We just need you to answer a few little questions for us. The recording of this will be posted on YouTube and available next week, including we will email brochures to you specifically to this webinar. So yeah, Nadia, do you want to kick off?
Yes, sure. We've got our first question here from Jeremy. Can you explain a bit about the gateway for how the system connects to the internet and for the app and controls, etc.? Thank you.
Donnie, you want to get all over that one?
Sure. So the gateway, like I mentioned, it is a very simple device where an RJ45 connection is plugged into it. So through your network switch, it has a MAC address. Your IT department would then use that device address to turn it into a device that has a specific IP address on your system, because this is what we require. We require your internet to speak to that device. It is a device then that is behind your firewall, so it is very secure. No one can hack into that. And once it has an internet connection, that's all we require, because the capability is through the app, is that it's recognized through the cloud, and that Kasimbi device is then recognized as a usable device, which then becomes a Bluetooth device in the network. So it forms part of the mesh. And what you then will see is when you open the application on your smart device, the one that you've downloaded, that app will then have a little cloud as an icon, and that means it's part of a gateway. Once I've set up that gateway within that network, part of my programming, you are literally capable, once you have internet at home, to open your app to see what scenes are active or not active, and being able to switch things on and off and dim them remotely. And I think that is the limitations of the application, is that it doesn't give you 100% feedback to what can I say, to which assets and etc. But if you understand and seeing the app, what it offers on different screens, you will understand that it's very visually capable of showing you that this node is on, this node is at 100%, this scene is active. So understanding what that dimming scene means, which timer is active, etc. So everything that you would physically see off the app while you're in that environment will be seen remotely as well. I hope that answers it, Jeremy.
Okay, any other questions there, Nadia?
Okay, he just sent a thumbs up, and no, there's no further questions.
Any hands up?
Not that I can see, no.
Okay. Yeah, well, thank you. That's been a good session. But please, what's important is that you speak to us so we can understand your needs. So we're happy to sit with you, workshop it out to understand your application and what you, and also let's try and extend that to, you might have a certain idea and something that we can adapt to that with the control system and with our luminaires to give you the optimum benefit of energy saving. So I think we can kick off with the short poll, so please stay online.